Okay, my outstanding friends, another Shocker du jour on steroids, Supreme Deluxe. What are we going to be talking about today? Volcanoes. Now, I started the video and I sort of rambled a little bit here and there, and I figured, well, by the time I got to the end, I said, well, I better set these people up for what they're about to see because it's stunning to the degree that nobody has been stunned before. How about that? What are we looking at here? Well, there's a lot of people now. Hold on, let me get a little closer and show you what we're looking at in extreme detail, because it is, like I say, this is way past shocking. All right, get ready. Okay, my friends, as my custom has become, is to give you the Shocker du jour up front, and then we'll go from there and discuss the details. But what is the Shocker du jour? This. And what is it normally portrayed as? I'm hearing a lot of people talking about these are leaves. These are leaves they're finding all over the earth. These are not leaves. That is a digestive system. All right, look closely at what you're seeing here. They're seeing these patterns and saying that's exactly what a leaf looks like. Well, maybe it does, but it also is exactly what the guts of a gigantic dragon look like. And this is his guts coming right down here. That's his digestive system, and it empties out poop right here, and that's why it is so fertile. Now, I have been looking at this for a very long time. Typhon in the desert. He's 1,100 miles long. If that is truly a dragon, which it is, and he ate things, which apparently he did. He's got a digestive system, he's got a throat, and these are all the scales on his throat coming all the way down. You see that? These are all scales. These are dragon scales. And again, if you cannot understand what you're seeing, then that is your problem, not mine. I've shown this hundreds and hundreds of times, and no interest whatsoever from anybody that should pay interest in this. This is our history. This is our past. This is geology, biology, whatever you want to call it. But his throat runs all the way down, 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 all the way down to his digestive system, which is way back here. And then it runs out down his colon, or whatever you want to call it, because this is an avian creature, and it poops right out here. All right, remember I showed you, this is his guts. This is where he's absorbing food. All right, those aren't just hills and valleys. That's where food is being absorbed by this guts. You see that? Look at this. It's not just hills and valleys. They say, oh, no, they're just a natural. No, well, it's natural, but it's not natural the way you think it's natural. It's natural because it was inside of the guts of a creature. And then, again, it poops right out here. Now, I'm going to show you Mt Spurr because it has the same situation going on. It's from a gigantic, gigantic creature, and it doesn't have just leaking out like this. It explodes. That's the difference. Mt Spurr is in Alaska, completely covered with all of that biology that would normally be turned into food and everything. It just pow, all of a sudden one day it goes off like that. That's what Mt Spurr is. I'm telling you, it is a rectum. I've always been told Spurr is a rectum. Well, they don't usually use that word, but it's basically the same thing. So let's go see Spurr's rectum. I'm telling you, it's just the way it is. Life has just gone insane for me now. That's a 1,200 mile long dragon. Just think if he farted, what would happen? Well, what do you think would happen? And they do, they're farting because the decomposition of the stuff they died with is starting to decompose and exploding. And as it gets warmer and warmer, there'll be more and more volcanoes because there's going to be more and more decomposition happening. The cold areas of the earth have preserved these creatures and not let them decompose. And now they will decompose, and when they do, they're going to explode, and they will become volcanoes. So don't forget now, these are the kind of things people are seeing. They're saying, that's a leaf. That's a leaf. Well, it does look it, but it's not. It's the digestive system or an organ from this giant dragon. Now, this is the poop, and that is the urine, I believe, coming out from this dragon's, excretory system. And that's why it's growing so green down here, because, poop has fertility to it. Now, this is all dragon scales. All right, and it runs right out here and runs down, and it mingles in with the urinary tract, which is either here or it's right over here. I really can't make that determination. It's either here is the urinary area, and I thought that was at first, because they sort of mix together in a cloaca, which is avian, birds, reptiles. So I thought this would have been the urine area, and this is the poop. And they come out, and then they mix together, and then they come down here, and they just flow down here over the course of time forever. And they build up in these pile-ish looking things down here. Eventually they pile up as they run off. And Mt Spurr in Alaska, which we're going to be looking at next, has a working excretory system right now. It's still pooping at this moment. And I will show you, it's stunning. But think of this now. This is 1,200 miles long, about 1,100 and something. Just think of how big the pop would be if he had a really nasty fart followed by, poop. Because what happens in these volcanoes, they get what they call a lava dome. Well, what it is the stuff that was there just hardens up, and you get constipation. And then all of a sudden one day, it just, pow, that's it. Constipation, no more. Let me show you Mt Spurr. This is just off the charts. I'm sorry. It's just what life is. And, if you want to know the truth, you have to be able to look at the truth square in the eyes, or in this case, other places, and decide, is that what it is or isn't? Now, if you don't understand the difference between a human anatomy, which has a penis, a vagina, and an anus, a rectum, whatever, and avian creatures and birds and reptiles and so forth, they have a cloaca. It's up inside. You can't really see anything. So, and it's up inside here, and that's it. And when they have sex, they press cloacas together. That's how I understand it. Maybe I'm wrong, but just think of the explosion that you would have if that thing backed up, plugged up, and then festered up inside. And that's, I believe, what's happening in the volcanic area, in these real cold areas. They're starting to not be frozen anymore. Like the one in Iceland. I think it's Iceland. It's just bubbling up, and I believe that's like an intestine that runs like a long distance. The Earth is made of bodies and corpses. I'm telling you, that's just a fact. And Jesus Christ said it. He said the Earth is a corpse, and when you understand the Earth, you'll understand the body. And that's why I'm understanding the body of all these different creatures. And you should be too if you're watching. And if you have anybody that's a doctor or a medical person or anything that can dispute any of this, I'd like to hear them dispute. But these things that I just showed you are not leaves and all that stuff didn't make it. Even the Colburn Bible, which was the parallel Bible to the normal Bible, said trees didn't make it. They were gone. They were destroyed during the great boiling hot water flood. Okay, hold on tight. This is Crowley Lake. These are literally hairs. The black and the red are the different colors of blood. You all know this is Mudfossil people. This is kaolin clay. It's a very soft clay. Normally it's found in the tissue of your face and your neck and so forth. The very fine clay. And this is part of Scorpzilla, I'm almost certain. It's Crowley Lake, and this is quite big, and I believe it's from Scorpzilla's beard. So let's go to Scorpzilla. Now, we're looking at the United States. All right, that's Quetzalcoatl over here. Let me just show you Quetzalcoatl. So I have so much evidence, it's just mind-blowing. Here's Quetzalcoatl. Here's his head. There's his headdress. His snaky body goes all the way up the East Coast. I don't want to bother going through this a million times, but here he is. There's his head. There's his headdress. His body goes all the way up the East Coast, and these are the green mountains up here, which are feathers, as you can see. Those are feathers. And that's why they're growing so green. Feathers make things grow green. You can actually buy feather meal, all ground up feathers. It makes things grow green like crazy. Same thing with blood meal. Now, what did the indigenous peoples, they said this exactly, that was a creature right there. There's no difference whatsoever. He even has the beards, he has the headdress, and there are feathers coming up his headdress. I've shown you this again a bazillion times. Nobody seems to care. These are even the feathers. These are the feathers coming right up off his headdress, which is up right up here. And he even influences the weather. It hits that area, and it creates turmoil, like it's almost flying. I'm telling you, I've been watching this. This is Little Rock right here. This is Little Rock right there in the top of his head. And then it just flares back from there. It's like, it seems to happen very, very often. So this even influences weather. And I'll be showing you this later. It's hysterical how the geologists explain these things. They just go, oh, that's nothing. That's just flat irons. I said, well, wait a minute, look at that. Don't you see what that is? Those are dragon scales. Oh, no, they're just everywhere. They're just flat irons. I said they're everywhere, but they're dragon scales because dragons were everywhere. And they wanted to focus in on this little thing here. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, like I said, I wanted to prep you for this because this is as stunning as it gets. Because now we're going to go over to see Scorpzilla, all right, which everybody knows is the West Coast. The East Coast was Quetzalcoatl. Scorpzilla runs all the way from here, all the way up his body, and his scorpion tail is right there. All right, that scorpion tail has a pin on it, right there. And what happens is it's a squirter. And when it retracts, it goes up into these creases. You see those creases there? It just folds right back into there. So this whole assembly goes back into here. All right, right now it's thinking it was trying to attack somebody because it died. And then it squirted out its juice right here. All right, normally that would have been back here and something would come right up in here and go, look, and that would be it for that thing. All that goop stuff would go into it and it would kill him. Now that's Scorpzilla. All right, and again, this is Scorpzilla's head all the way down, running up. Now, Mt Spurr is right here. Now, we're going to take a look at Mt Spurr, because if this doesn't blow your mind, I don't know where your mind is. Because it blew mine, and my mind has been blown so many times, I didn't think there was anything left to blow. But it did. Now, and this goes back quite a ways, I just haven't talked about it too much. Now, I'm going to give you just a quick look at this today and show you some other stuff, probably. And then we're going to come back to this at some point later to give it an extreme detail and see if we can evolve this in Scorpzilla. But for right now, I'm going to tell you Mt Spurr is a rectum. I've always had them say, Spur, you're a rectum. I think that was the word they used. No, I don't think that was it. But it's a rectum. There's virtually no question about that. Now, I don't know what they call it in an avian creature. Okay, as you will see, there's no question whatsoever. It is a cloaca. And the colon, which is the rectum, is relatively short, links the ileum with the corporeal compartment of the cloaca. The cloaca and colon are important for reabsorption of water from the GI tract. Cloaca serves as a common end pathway for urinary tract and digestive tract, which is the feces. They come together, and the reproductive tract, all into one thing. And I will show you that in Mt Spurr. Okay, there is a lot of guts up in here. I looked in this and it's spectacular. But here's Mt Spurr, which literally is the rectum. And coming right out of here, it explodes. Well, where does it go? It comes down as what you would call a glacier. And it comes out of here, down here, and then where does it go? It feeds in with this other flow of whatever that is. And where does it go? Look at this. There it is right there. That is poop, my friends. That could be tested right now. What is in that brown stuff? Why is that brown like that? That's poop. It's coming right out of Mt Spurr. Right out of here. Poop. Now, when that was frozen and all that stuff, and it sort of let go, in 53, it let go, but then apparently it refroze or whatever happened. And then in 1992, it took off again. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is poop. Now, is there cloaca? Yes. How can I say that? Well, here's how I can say it, because here's the other part of the cloaca. This is the feces part, the poop. This right here is the urinary tract, and here right there is, I think they call it a sphincter muscle. It pinches the urinary so you don't leak. And it comes out of here, all this white stuff, and here somehow is the reabsorption of the minerals and so forth. Now, if you remember, I don't know if you saw the part where the ranger was saying the color went from a brilliant color this to dark gray because of some sulfur dioxide was being absorbed. Well, it was a fart. You know what a fart is? It's sulfur dioxide, basically. Okay, my friends, this is going to be fun. What if I told you that I own a volcano? What if I said I own a volcano? What would you say? Roger, you're insane. Well, I hear that all the time anyway, so what's the difference? There's my volcano right there, Spurr. It's right outside of Anchorage, Mt Spurr. Wait till I tell you the story on this. It blows my mind. Okay, my friends, this brings back some serious memories. I was in Alaska. I was in Anchorage. I was in the Army. I was in the Teddy Bear Brigade. Now, that's supposed to be a grizzly bear. This is the patch for the USARAL, United States Army, Alaska. This was what they call the OGs, olive greens. Up in the snow, you wear these so they can see you easy. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. However, I went to Alaska, I lived in Anchorage for a couple of years, and I never heard of Mt Spurr. No clue. It was like 80 miles away from me, it was right down the street. Anyway, I'm going to tell you the whole story of how this all unfolded, and it was such a miracle that I found this. You know my research on mud fossils, and I had to explain every bit of geology, how volcanoes occur. Well, how does a volcano happen? What is lava made out of? Why does it just all of a sudden pop out of the ground? And then the story about Mt Spurr is just mind-blowing. It hasn't erupted virtually forever that anybody knows of until just recently. Now, why? That's a good question. Because it erupted more than once recently, and it is still quite active. So what is the source of those eruptions? I'm going to show you what Mt Spurr is. And as I say, 100% of everything started out as biology. Now what it is now, it could turn into all kinds of different rocks, and it can erode, and you can have sediment, you can have all kinds of different configurations of rocks and minerals, but they all started out with biology, because inside of biology is every mineral and every single different type of molecule that exists. Blood is literally iron. I mean, it's just virtually iron. And we're going to get into this deep. And when you find out what we're into deep, it's going to blow your mind. Get ready. Okay, let's get into Mt Spurr. And they claim it's where two plates caused activity in this volcano over the course of history, the scrubbing, and all of a sudden they just pop out of here. Now, I disagree with those conclusions, but let's hear what they have to say.
specifically 2 large eruptions.
Spurr, it's not the most active volcano in Cook Inlet. Augustine is. But it is the closest volcano to Anchorage. It's only 80 miles west of here, due west. And it's also a tall volcano. It's just over 11,000 feet tall, and it's a lot of snow and ice is on this volcano. My name is Gay McChimsey, and I'm a volcanologist with the Alaska Volcano Observatory, U.S. Geological Survey in Anchorage, Alaska. The only historic eruptions that we know of occurred, the first one was in 1953. And it was a single eruption, lasted about an hour, put ash up to about 50,000 feet.
From July 9th to July 16th, 1953, ash that spewed from Mt Spurr covered Anchorage, Alaska, shut down the local Air Force base for a week, and disrupted traffic for 3 to 4 days. Fortunately, there were no fatalities during this eruption. However, several military aircraft were severely damaged while circling the volcano during the eruption. After years of dormancy, Mt Spurr became active again, and in a big way, in 1992. It was then when Mt Spurr erupted 3 times in only 4 months. 2 large-scale eruptions and 1 smaller-scale eruption.
Let me mention something to you. When this happened, they did an extensive amount of research on what had come out of there, the gases, the particles, and all this. The only reason I found out about Mt Spurr was because I was doing the research on what is lava made out of and what are the characteristics of volcanoes that we can home in on. Are there different types of volcanoes? They all have the same stuff coming out of them? And this is what I was trying to determine. And the first click I did, the first thing I did, I said, what is in lava or something like that? Was there any research or something? I don't know. This goes back quite a number of years. The first thing that pops up is Mt Spurr research. I just blew my mind. And then I started looking into this, and then it really blew my mind, because when I tell you what Mt Spurr is, it's shocking to say the least. All right, so don't forget, they're doing some serious research on what's causing this and what's coming out of here. They got planes flying all over, and they actually were flying right when the eruption went off. And it actually was like almost like a nuclear bomb going off, and very, very interesting interaction. But anyway, this was the research they did on. Now listen to this, and listen to the gases and so forth, and the colors of the liquids in the lakes.
So in 1992, when Spurr became restless, there was about a 10-month lead up to that eruption. Seismologists began to see the seismic events increase.
Now, they're flying planes all over the place trying to find out what's coming out of here and what can we expect. Anchorage was very close, and there are nuclear missile sites up in this area, which is a little scary. That's what I did. I serviced the nuclear missile sites. And anyway.
Swarms began. We began measuring gas over there and saw that there was more gas coming out, both CO2 and SO2.
CO2 and SO2. All right, carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide.
The lake turned from a beautiful turquoise color to a battleship gray color, which is indicative of absorption of SO2 into the lake waters.
All right, sulfur basically.
And then on the afternoon of June 27th, 1992, Spurr erupted. And it erupted just almost a carbon copy of what it had done in July of 1953. Except the eruption was about 3 hours long. That an eruption of Spurr was confirmed, that it was now showing up seismically as a major eruption.
All right, so they have seen this. They know what's coming out of there. They're trying to figure out, maybe this thing going to pop again, and apparently they're considering it on a pretty much stable right now. However, they claim that there was a 10-month lead up to where they, all of a sudden, well, what caused the lead up, first of all? And could we expect that to happen again? It could have happened fast. Or does it take 10 months or more to build that pressure up? There's a lot of questions to ask, and then what is literally coming out of there? What exactly is the cause of volcanism? There's all kinds of different volcanoes. You see the one over in Iceland, or I think it's Iceland. The big, long one. It's just all over, and it's just fuzzing away like crazy. Then you got like Hawaii. It's just a volcanic island, basically, and there's all kinds of different volcanoes. So volcanoes don't come from one specific source. And what is in those volcanoes, that's a whole nother issue as well. What is the materials, what is the lava made out of that's coming out of there? That's what I go into, is the or the mechanisms, and what is the molecules, and how did they form? What's the chemistry? Everything boils down to chemistry. That's the bottom line. If you can understand the chemistry, you can understand just about anything. You know, this is where it gets really funny. I come up and I look at these things, and over on the side, they have all these little things here. This is hilarious. Discover the origin of this beautiful rock formation. This is Myron. Oh man, I'm telling you, the world is out of control. Wait, you got to come up and watch some of his videos and see his explanations of these things. That's from some kind of gigantic serpent. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable what they see and how he justifies all these things. Very, very interesting. I'm telling you, Myron is something. This is what he said, wow, what made this structure right here? How come this out of place thing is here? And he looked at this and he says, oh, those are just flat irons. That's a dragon. That's a dragon scale, some kind of gigantic serpent. It goes for miles. These things were just staggeringly large. He's standing down here. You can't even see him. He's like a little pinpoint right down there. And he's saying, well, what made it this? This was the dragon's last meal or something, or maybe his tonsils. I don't know. Okay, get ready. This is warning of Revelation, the Colburn Bible, its secrets revealed. Now, the Colburn Bible is called a parallel Bible. It's written at the same time. As with the Book of Enoch, Dead Sea Scrolls omitted from the Bible. They were not allowed to be in the Bible because it talked about the truth. Colburn was protected by some group in the Glastonbury Monastery in Scotland and in New Zealand. Particularly interesting in the timing, trying to establish a timeline. What seems to have emerged is that the major Earth changes, the 3 days of darkness from northern hemisphere with sunrise west for a few days, comes just ahead of rotation stoppage and the pole shift, all within weeks. This is apparently when Venus almost hit Earth. Now this is what it says, and this is the Colburn Bible, just like it said. The Book of Enoch and all that stuff taken out, Jubilees taken out, this taken out. Why? Here's why. Compare the sequences of events. Wisdom from the ancients, all right? This is old stuff. Now, right down here, right in the very beginning, it says, when blood drops upon the earth, which is the red stuff, the destroyer will appear, and mountains will open up and belch forth fire and ashes, because it's going to be an impact almost. Trees will be destroyed. That's when the cellulose gets destroyed. All living things engulfed. Bodies, flesh and blood, they boiled and literally created a red bed of flesh, and then gray clay, and then the black cap is when all the ashes and stuff came down on top. Now it says that the trees will be destroyed, totally destroyed, because they boiled up, and all living things engulfed. Waters will be swallowed up by the land, and seas will boil. The heavens will burn brightly from this impact, and redly. There will be a copper hue over the face of the land, followed by a day of darkness. A new moon will appear and break up and fall. That, yikes. The people will scatter in madness. They will hear the trumpet and battle cry of the destroyer. This is Venus, I believe, and will seek refuge within dens in the earth. Terror will eat away their hearts, and their courage will flow from them like water from a broken pitcher. They will be eaten up in the flames of wrath and consumed by the breath of the destroyer. In those days, men will have the great book before them. Wisdom will be revealed. The few will be gathered for the stand. It is the hour of trial. The dauntless ones will survive. The stout-hearted will not go down to destruction. Now, the other cultures knew of this same impact, and the Celts called it the frightener, and somebody else called it the destroyer, the Egyptians. But it was, in my opinion, it was Venus, and this was written about. And it came and just about smashed into Earth and caused all of these things cause the seas to boil. Think about what it would take to make the seas boil. Just think about that. Well, how did that happen? How did that happen? Venus is almost as big as Earth. It's virtually the same size as Earth. And it came at us like this. All right, let's take Venus is here. And here's Earth. Earth is just having a good time. Everybody's partying, drinking wine, and running around and doing the bad things that they shouldn't be doing. And God said, all right, take them out. Now, at this point, God was Jupiter. And Jupiter sent Venus to clear up his own mess. Jupiter caused a mess on Earth by coming down and telling all 200 guys to come with him and have sex with all the women. They grew up to be giants and dragons, and all kinds of these crazy monsters appeared. Zeus, who is Jupiter, says, go down there and take care of this. Wipe them all out. So let's get this thing started over again. It didn't work out. So Venus comes out of Jupiter's great red spot. I've shown it literally 100 times. And Velikovsky said everybody on Earth recorded the same story, that the feared god Jupiter gave birth to the fiery comet that almost hit Earth. So here it comes, poof, right off to the edge. It just barely nicked it and combusted everything, shake the Earth, told the Earth to stop spinning that direction, all kinds of things. And so now you got 3 days of darkness and in different areas, because it's going to be dark up in the top for less time or longer times, and it's going to be, anyway, there's going to be difference in the darkness from north to south. And they did say that. They said in some areas it looked like it got dark for 3 days in a row, and in other areas it was only dark for 1 day and no night. So all of this stuff makes sense if you really believe what appears to be absolutely no way to get around it. All right, the destroyer. And they can all some of them call it Wormwood, Nibiru, Planet X, the Nemesis. They call it the fiery dragon. I don't know, all kinds of things. All right, and this is very interesting, this Colburn Bible. It speaks of the passing planet causing a pole shift, the destroyer, where the ancient Sumerians called it Nibiru, and today we call it Planet X. And as history changes and moves along, somebody's going to put a little twist to something. If it sticks, that's the story we hear. If it doesn't stick, that's why it's so important to hold on to the early texts, the earliest texts. Because they tell stories that everybody thinks they're crazy, and they want them burnt. Get rid of them, get them out of here, because people think I'm crazy. And that's what happened with the Smithsonian and everybody else. All the academics, they won't allow you to understand about dragons and giants and all of this because it points to God. And as far as I'm concerned, Satan runs academia. I'm just telling you, that's my opinion. Satan runs academia. And they will not let you have truth. Because once you know truth, you will know God, and then you will go away from their ways, which are the ways of Satan. Now, you want to call me a preacher? Call me anything you want. I'm looking at what it says in these ancient texts, and how they can deceive you into you paying them to force you to say what they tell you to say. This is insanity. You think about the whole prospect of education and academia. You come to us and we'll give you a piece of paper that says you could repeat what we told you to say and say it basically the same way we told you. You have to remember everything we told you. I've been showing a lot of geological stuff. Some woman said, I was in geology course, and the final exam was we had to go in a room and there was like 100 different rocks in there. We had to say what each rock was. This is an igneous, metamorphic, sedimentary, crystalline, blah, 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 blah. It was just names. It was just names. It's like saying, this is Bob, that's Sally, that's Jane, that's Gooby Gooby, and whoever they are. It's absolutely meaningless because they don't know what the source of those rocks were, and they don't care, and they take it out, get it out. Don't allow it to be spoken of. Same thing that happened here. Same thing that happened to Volkowski. Same thing that happened to yours truly, Roger.